金色ラブリッチェ。
I haven't done anything wrong.
あれ、何やったの？
試合でなんか汚いことしたんだって。
じゃあうちが負けたのあいつのせいなの？
最低だよ、あいつのせいで。
市松くん、何か言いたいことは？
I haven't done anything wrong. That was right. All I aspired to be was golden. I would do anything to make that a reality. Anything. I woke up. 6 o'clock. Tch, there was no need to wake up so early. I woke up early yesterday too. Yesterday's events played back in my head. I had been woken up by radio calisthenics yesterday, but I looked out my window. There was no one there. But I did hear voices counting 1, 2, 3, 4 far off in the distance. It'd be gross to do it beside my room, huh? I already wasn't in the best of moods. Due to my vulgar display yesterday, everyone had gone from smirking at me to being cautious. This was pretty hard on me in its own way, not that I could say which was worse. There were those who would approach me, but their other friends would drag them away. There was someone who didn't particularly care about all that, but I hardly ever spoke to them. Huh.
元気がありませんね。
You think? Maybe because I'd had so little to eat? Or maybe...
転校3日目。慣れると同時に疲れが来たか。学園生活に身が馴染めば、当然昔を思い出すでしょうね。
Does she know something about his past? Everything felt so tense. No one wanted to interact with me. I just took my seat and behaved myself. Many of my classmates seemed to be on edge and were waiting to see what I would do, but they had nothing to worry about so long as I didn't act out. This was probably the perfect amount of distance for all of us to have from one another. Like so, class started.
何かしら。
外が騒がしいですね。
I had been ignoring the lecture, so I noticed it just now. There definitely was a racket spreading through the school. All this fuss in the middle of class. What was it? Did a dog get in or something? I looked out into the yard.
ワンちゃんがいるの？いないわ、オーロ。
That's the sort of event that gets the school more wound up than anything else, though. It wasn't a dog. Still, this was the exact sort of school-wide commotion I would expect if something had snuck in from outside. What was going on? Could it be some mysterious terrorist who came here for Sylvie?
私を？何？カバレロさん、席に戻ってください。すいません。
We were still in the middle of class, and the only ones who got worked up over the idea were my neighbors, Sylvie and Kikuchio.
何オーロ、私狙われているの？
Yeah, they'll catch us and tie us up from head to toe. While everyone has given up hope, I'll break free with my hidden pocket knife. I'll be the last hope of saving everyone. I'll have to head for the chemistry lab first. I'll mix together all sorts of different chemicals to make blinding agents and improvised bombs to fight off the terrorists.
オーロ、かっこいい。
That was a delusion I'd spent half of my school hours making up in my second year of middle school. And now that there was a princess in class, it wasn't completely out of the question.
でも、本物のテロリストが来たとして、そんな簡単に脱出できるかしら？
昨今のテロリストは 人質を時限爆弾のそばに集めて要求をします。下手に抵抗すると爆弾が起爆し、大惨事になりますね。
The real world has no sense of adventure, does it? My newly awakened self would take down the minor villain, one that would terrify the student body without causing any fatalities, in a feel-good way that was the sort of terrorist I hoped would show up. But then... my cell phone vibrated. I had a message on Luin. It was Helena. She sent me some sort of character stamp holding a huge sign. The sign said... Ah. It was apparently for a relatively dull reason. It wasn't a dog, it was a person. Guess it was none of my business then.
あの子が戻ってきたらしいよ。
I could hear people talking around me too. The class's reaction was...
怖いですわね。今度は何をしてくせる。だよね。ラストでずっと停学してて欲しかったかも。ほんとほんと。市松もいるし、ノーブル学園の品性が地に落ちるわ。
As you could hear. All of the commotion had completely settled down by lunchtime. I wondered who the suspended student was. Not that it really mattered.
ごはんごはん。ねえオラ、今日は。
Ah. Sorry, I'm gonna go wander a little.
うん。
I walked out in the hallway. Sylvie was probably about to invite me to lunch, but...
よし、行きましたわね。
The girls around me had harsh looks in their eyes. I was in no mood for this today. Putting up with their glares was a hassle. I'd stick out like a sore thumb if I acted all doom and gloom around Sylvie. Either way, I'd been looking forward to eating lunch, as it would make up for my shabby breakfast and dinner. But I still didn't quite feel up for it. I came up to the rooftop again. Huh. Wait, I hadn't bought anything for me to eat. Aww. Oh well. It'd be a pain to go all the way back to the school store anyway. And those strange looks were way too harsh for me to endure today. Better just kill some time here. I could head to the school store at the last second before break ended and buy whatever was left. I took a seat in the shade. Huh. Noble Private Academy. It was a special, leading academy in Japan, but it was funny how I had eventually made my way back to practically the same sort of place as at my old regular school. At my old school. I hid in the shadows for the longest time, didn't I? Ah!
うわ、びっくりした。
Wah! I was plenty jumped myself. When I opened my eyes, an unfamiliar face was peering down at me. She must have been looking me over closely, very closely. Huh, what the heck? I thought the roof was off limits.
そっくりそのまま返す。
Fair enough. The unfamiliar girl shrugged her shoulders, seeming exasperated, and stood up. I got back up as well. Phew, had I nodded off? Break's almost over. I need to grab lunch.
昼休み？
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's lunchtime right now. My surroundings were dyed a dark shade of orange. Huh? I thought I had been sitting in the shade, but everything was oddly lustrous. The sun was shining off to my side. It had been to the south, but had migrated to the west. It's nighttime? What the hell is going on? If I'm able to leap through time, am I being attacked?
あるある。俺もたまに攻撃される。
Jokes aside, I hadn't just nodded off. I was out like a light. That's weird. I went to bed at 10 o'clock last night, so I got plenty of sleep. Then again, I hadn't slept soundly thanks to that awful dream. Guess I made up for it just now. Which meant I skipped all my afternoon classes, but then those expert whatchamacallit classes were in the afternoon, so it was fine. Phew. Oh well. I bet the whole class was ecstatic to not have me around. What is it? The girl was staring at me. She actually looked pretty cool. Her hair was dyed in the same shade as Reina's. After giving me a good once-over, she giggled and said,
りょうは寝心地が悪かったか？市松大路くん。
She seemed to know my name. It's so-so. Do you live in the dorms too? I'd never seen her in class, which was likely where she would have picked up my name. The woman giggled again and said,
女の子を脅すのは感心しねえな。
Never happened. They really are making a mountain out of a molehill. The rumors about me threatening a boy from class and the radio calisthenics incident were beginning to blend together. God, give me a break. You're,
リア。相馬リア。
Soma Ria. Ria? That's a cute name. So much so that it didn't match her mannerisms. What?
いや。お前、部屋でマリア・ビショップの曲かけてたよな。
You heard that? And what of it?
ファンなの？
I am.
そう。
She flipped her hair away from her face. What the?
まあいいや。とっとと帰れよ。この学校7時に門閉まるぜ。
Yeah. I checked my watch and saw it was 6:20 p.m. I still had half an hour left.
帰んねえの？
How about you?
俺はやることがあんの。いるならいるでいいけど、黙っとけよ。
Oh. Ria felt around in her chest pocket. I took a quick look at the pendant she was wearing. And then she pulled out War.
よいしょっと。
Ria put that certain something in her mouth before climbing onto the water tank. Couldn't see her from below anymore, huh? I followed after her. Black, huh?
んだよ、ついてくんな。
Well, yeah, this isn't a situation where I'd want anyone to think we are together. Getting down may have been the right call, but... I'm going to say this because it's relevant, but smoking does shorten your life. Blah blah blah, it's bad for your health, yada yada.
あっそ。
Didn't look like she cared. That's fine then. Her health was of no concern to me.
受動喫煙だっけ？周りにいるやつが一番健康に悪いそうだぞ。あなたの健康が心配でどうたら。帰れよ。うせろ。
I don't like punks, so it's in my nature to do the opposite of what you tell me.
うぜ。
Punk was an outdated word at this point though. But between the super flashy hair and smoking habit, that was probably a fitting word for her. She carelessly took a puff from her cigarette. She was so cute too, what a waste. Seemed like a pretty awful scene if you ask me, but I would just overlook it. I'm not about to stop you or anything. I'm curious, why do you smoke? I had no interest in tobacco, and it was a question I often posed to smokers. I wondered what was so fun about those fumey things. What do you think is the reason? Because it's cool or something?
うん、正解。
Huh?
かっこつけてんの。
She took a huge drag off of it.
テレビだとタバコ吸ってる男ってうだつの上がらねえおっさんばっかりだけど、女はいい女系のかっこいい感じだろ。だから吸ってんの。
That was a very 90s-esque excuse. I doubt that that was the real reason behind it, but she didn't look like she wanted to elaborate any further. Well, I shouldn't really pry into the subject too much anyway, as it would just make the mood even worse. Oh, that reminded me. Were you the one who got suspended?
ん？
I heard some student came back from a suspension today. It caused quite the commotion earlier.
人目は避けたつもりだったけど、見られたか。
Looks like I hit the nail on the head. She took another drag and looked frustrated.
まあ、騒ぎにはなるわな。まだ停学処分中の生徒が入ってくれば、先行どもも騒ぐだろうさ。
Huh, you're still suspended? All Elena said was that someone who got suspended showed up. That's why I was convinced her suspension had to be over. I was wrong. She was similar to a terrorist or a dog in the sense that she was an unwelcome trespasser. If they told you you're suspended, why not stay suspended? If I could get away with it, I would. I'd love to be suspended for a little while longer.
うるせえな、関係ねえだろ。
Scary. Regardless, I kept pressing her for more. Is there some reason why you wanted to come back to school? Some reason.
うるせえ。
Ah. That was as far as I got. She packed way more of a punch than I did, and all I could do was to fall silent. Both of us were at a loss for words.
時間切れ。
Huh?
こいつは俺だけのものにしたかったんだけどな。誰にも言うなよ。
Huh? What?
始まっちまった。
Wow. What a view. I followed her line of sight. The sun was in the process of setting and sinking straight into the lake. Hamamatsu Lake wasn't an ocean, but you could still see the horizon since it was over 4 kilometers wide. The lake was much larger than I originally thought, especially when I could see it from a place as high as this roof. The sun setting on the horizon, a view that should only be visible out on the Sea of Japan. This is kind of nostalgic.
懐かしい。
Yeah, I saw this kind of thing a few times when I was a little kid. I played here a lot as a kid. My friends and I would always stop playing just as the sun would start to set and gaze out at this same exact view. I had stopped coming here to play at some point and had forgotten all about it, but even now I found it to be breathtaking. It actually felt more incredible now than back then, perhaps because of how high up we are. I'd only looked up at the sky from ground level at the time, but it made a world of a difference now that I was on the roof. Enough that it left me mesmerized.
念押しするけど、誰にも言うなよ。少なくともこの場所はな、俺だけの特等席なんだ。
Yeah. I wanted to, though. There were other people I wanted to show this place to. But this view was a treasure. I was only here out of sheer dumb luck, but I was sure she'd be upset if I took any more of this experience away from her. That was how worthwhile a view it was. Is this why you went out of your way to come to school while you were suspended? She clicked her tongue, seemingly annoyed by my comment, and turned away. We'd only known each other for less than 10 minutes, and her attitude left a lot to be desired. With that said, her reason for coming to school, while suspended mind you, was kind of endearing.
お前さ、
Mm-hmm.
お前ゴールデンタイムって知ってる？
The holiday in May?
ウィークじゃなくてタイム。
I know, just kidding. This may have been the scenery's beauty at work, but Ria suddenly became much more talkative than before. With only the butt of a cigarette left, she snuffed it out using her portable ashtray.
テレビ局がよく言うだろ。
Oh, what was it again? The time of day with the highest ratings?
まあそれが正解。夜7時から9時だか10時だかまで。何かをするのに最高な時間ってこと。
Yeah. She'd come to that liberal interpretation.
これが俺のゴールデンタイムなんだ。この時間、日が落ちていき、夜になる一歩手前、ほんのひととき現れる輝きの時間。何もかもが暮れてしまう手前の一瞬。ほんの一瞬だけある世界のすべてが輝くとき。
It definitely is the best. The setting sun reflected upon the lake and made the world appear an even more brilliant shade of gold. Golden time. A glimmer perfectly befitting that name was before us as we spoke.
この湖に入った者は輝ける永遠の時間へ旅立つことになる。昔ある人が言ってた。永遠の中に金色が沈んでいく。この湖はこれまで何回この金色を沈めたんだろう。永遠に近いくらい輝く時間を閉じ込めたのかな。
You sure are a romantic.
中二病って言いたきゃ言っていいぞ。
You sure?
蹴り落とすけど。
You sure are a romantic. She did seem kind of delusional to me. But she also sounded like a romantic. Sentimental feelings like that were one of the few things that made sense to me. The sensation of sinking into an unknown darkness and having no one to rely on. I experienced that plenty today. Seeing something so incredible gave me a bit of salvation. I understood that feeling as well. At long last, the sun set.
閉門まであと15分。
Time to go?
あ、
We headed out together for whatever reason. You live in the dorms too, right?
うん。
Then we were headed toward the same place. The thing that had me a bit worried was... the foyer between the front door and my room. The vast space fell silent the moment I stepped inside the building. And the girls gathered around instantly grew quiet. Of course, that would happen if the Academy's biggest troublemakers, Ria included, who was currently suspended, both came waltzing in at the same time. Maybe we should have come back at separate times.
うぜえのは一緒だろ。気にすんな。
We crossed through the foyer together. The stares were as intense as ever, but it was ever so slightly comforting to split their glares with Ria. I headed for my room. Ria followed me. The guest rooms were located along this hallway, and as soon as that thought came to mind, she unlocked the room next to mine. Huh? We are neighbors?
言わなかったっけ？お前がマリア・ビショップのファンなことはメールでは出回ってないから安心しろ。
Guess she had just heard it through the wall. Ah, so you were the one who slammed on the wall to shut us up the other day?
壁薄いんだからもうさせないよう静かにしろ。
She disappeared into her room with a self-satisfied smile. I was a little surprised, but she'd probably make for a decent neighbor, with Rena being a solid runner-up. Nice to meet you, neighbor. Her response to my greeting was a curtly shut door. Well, this worked out swimmingly enough. With that,
彼女と仲良くなられたんですか？
well, we've at least said hi to each other. Jogasaki looked somewhat bothered by this development. She probably assumed the troublemakers are banding together. Ria and I weren't exactly close, but I'd rather keep that information to myself and let her stew. Yeah, I hope it bothered her. Jogasaki quickly collected herself.
まあいいです。はい、今日の夕飯。
Yeah, thank you. I was in a much better mood after meeting Ria, but I was faced with a gloomy reality upon returning to my room. Was I only safe when I was back in my bedroom? The same room that had been assigned to me and the one where I could avoid the stares of the other boarders.
ちょっとよろしいでしょうか？
I was the only one around. Ria hadn't come out of her room. Huh? Me?
はい。
There was no possible way they could have spoken to the wrong person.
私、1年の栗生茜って言います。
Hello?
お名前を伺ってもよろしいですか？
Oh, sorry. Ichimatsu Oro.
市松先輩ですね。よろしくお願いします。
She was quite the energetic girl. There was a certain something about her appearance that felt out of place at an academy filled with a bunch of snobby rich kids. Oh, aren't you the girl from before?
はい、何度かご挨拶を。
I think you were also doing radio calisthenics.
そうです。毎朝の日課です。
This sure took me back. I'd had similar exchanges with underclassmen at my old school too. Are you the athletic type by chance?
私、陸上部なので、バリバリの体育会系です。
I see. Is that why you're so energetic?
よく言われます。私的にはこれが普通なんですけど。
So, what do you need from me?
ご挨拶です。
Sure.
同じ寮で暮らす先輩にはご挨拶をしないと失礼じゃないですか。
Looks like she had a sporty personality down to her very core. I was raised in a similar environment, so I didn't mind it in the slightest.
ですね。 何を話そうか忘れちゃいまして。それでは自己紹介の続きを。
Sure, you've got this.
ありがとうございます。頑張ります。
She seemed both easy and difficult to deal with. What a complicated girl.
さっきも少し話しましたけど、私陸上部なんです。短距離100メートルの選手をやってます。ちなみに自己ベストは11秒73です。
Wow, that's fast.
先輩、陸上にはお詳しいんですか？
No, not especially. I was comparing it to my own time.
ああ、なるほど。ありがとうございます。
She was faster than most men I knew. In fact, her time was faster than mine.
でも、今はちょっとタイムが落ちちゃってまして、自己ベストの記録も1年前のものなんです。
Over a year ago?
膝の怪我で最近まで起用してました。今はもう良くなりまして、コーチの指示をもらいながら個別練習中です。
Your knee, huh? That must have been rough.
半月板損傷ですね。お医者様と相談しまして、保存療法？
It doesn't hurt anymore?
はい、痛みはもう大 大丈夫ですね。今は筋トレと軽いランニング、あとは水泳で体力作りをしてます。
I see, that was a precise treatment regimen, and given this academy's facilities, they probably had support systems and rehabilitation centers on site. Are the radio calisthenics part of your rehabilitation?
はい、100年近く続いている国民的な健康体操ですから、効果はバッチリです。先輩も一緒にどうですか？気持ちいいですよ。
Haha, I'll let you know. This whole situation was already uncomfortable at best. There was no telling what would happen if I told that group of girls that I wanted to join them in their workout without warning.
いつでもお待ちしてますからね。
She could wait for me all she wanted, but there was no chance in hell I'd show up.
ところでですね。
Hmm?
先輩のことをお聞きしても良いでしょうか？
Why?
それは
My underclassman, Akane-chan, was at yet another loss for words.
私が先輩に興味あるからです。
Interested in me?
そうです。私、先輩に興味ありまくりです。
This is the first time we've met, right?
はい、初めてお会いします。
Do I remind you of someone you know or something?
いえ、そういったこともありません。
And you are still interested in me?
おかしいでしょうか。
It'd make sense if I were some outrageously hot guy or had an interesting looking face, but for a girl to have such a deep interest in a guy she'd only just met when neither of those were the case, was that even probable? Well, sure, I'll answer if I can.
ありがとうございます。それでは早速、先輩のご趣味は何でしょう？
I can't think of anything specific.
あれ？では、好きな食べ物は何ですか？
I guess I'm the kind of person who will eat anything as long as it tastes good.
では、好きな女性のタイプはどんな方ですか？
Pretty girls with long hair and big breasts. Especially black hair.
なるほど。髪と胸に魅力を感じる。
Why are you taking notes?
いけませんでしたか？
I guess it's not a big deal, but avoiding careless comments would be in my best interest.
では、気を取り直して、他にはありませんか？
I prefer healthier women. I don't want them to be too skinny. Aside from that, someone who isn't too demanding would be great.
なるほど、なるほど。健康的で優しい子ですね。
What was she planning to do with this information? I couldn't tell what went through girls' minds.
他には、そうだ。先輩は部屋で一人の時、何をして過ごしてるんですか？
This question was a little difficult to answer and was a delicate subject for a guy my age. I listened to music, and, well, lots of things. There was no need to fully disclose everything I did behind closed doors, so I kept things simple. Although my neighbor had found out I was a Maria Bishop fan.
ふむふむ。なるほど。それから、寝るのはいつも何時くらいですか？
Good question. Maybe around midnight?
起きるのは6時くらいですか？
Maybe a little later. I thought about it as I answered. It felt less like this girl was interested in me and more like she was assessing me. I get it. This is reconnaissance. I bet the other boarders told her to look into me. This made sense based on that assumption. An investigation into my hobbies, interests, and the general rhythm of my life. That was what all of her questions seemed to be about. Maybe I could try gently egging her on. Isn't there anything else you want to know?
他に、そうですね。
Like our senpais that were doing radio calisthenics with you, for example. Did they want to know anything about me?
いえ、先輩からは特に。違いますよ。これはあくまで私が市松先輩に興味があるから聞いているんです。
She sucked at lying and trying to be sneaky. I bet she was put up to this, so I'd better leave well enough alone. I'm about to eat dinner. Are we about done?
はい。それでは最後に、この寮での生活はどうですか？
Hard to say. I'm not sure yet.
ですよね。まだ入ったばっかりですし。
I'm getting used to it a little at a time. I'd appreciate it if everyone spoke to me as casually as you do, Akane-chan. Just in case, I gave her that honest, sincere response. Would you tell everyone else that for me?
はい、わかりました。
Not that I would hold out any hope.